Hey, welcome everybody. Rob Provencher here from No BS Photo Success. So it's New Year's Eve, and I never had a chance to do our monthly podcast that I typically do with James and Judy. We've been doing those for a year now. We actually did our first one exactly 12 months ago, and we had so much fun we started doing them every month. Judy got really busy last month, so James and I did it by ourselves. If you want to see those, go into the blog at photosuccess.com if you're interested. If you're super bored and looking for something to do, and all the replays are in there. So Judy wasn't there. Judy's, good to see she's busy. So we talk about photography and marketing and success and strategies and struggles and all kinds of weird, oddball things to do with photography, more or less, sometimes not, but mostly yes. And this month, it's been a crazy busy month for everyone. And so I thought, well, I don't know what happened, but the month just scooted on by. But here we are. And I thought, well, I'm just going to do one anyways by myself. So you're stuck with me, guys. I hope I can offer you something of value. It's not as conversational, obviously. I do like to talk to myself. You ever do that? You ever find yourself talking to yourself? You're mostly in the car. I do it all the time. So according to some of these articles I find when I see them advertised on Facebook, means I'm a genius. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't know that it's such a bad thing. But I'll be driving down the road and a scenario plays in my head. I get these scenarios all the time, and I'll get inspired and I'll just start talking out loud. I'll have a conversation. It's kind of weird, but true. So yeah, okay, I want to talk about goals, okay? Every year this happens, you all know it. Everybody gets big, hot, and heavy on goals. And I've been a big time goal setter. So I'll just give you a quick background, a little bit of history on why I believe goals are so important. I think I was 21 years old. I was actually working in a dark room for a mining industrial photographer. It was a pretty high-end dark room. And the guy who founded this company, he was in his 40s. His son was 25 at the time. I was only 21. And to me, 25, let alone in your 40s, he was the senior guy. I got to admit, the guy, the son, who was doing most of the shooting by this point in time, and I was running the darkroom, he was pretty responsible for a 25-year-old. I mean, he carried a heavy burden doing a lot of high-end industrial mining photography. His name's Dan Dion, by the way. He actually works at VizTech in Toronto, a big camera store down there. Anyways, it was a good job. Dan and his wife at that time got into Amway, and they told me about it, and I was just like, whoa, I'm going to make millions. So I signed up. And I started going to meetings, and it was literally the best thing that ever happened to me because of all the books that I got access to and all the seminars and workshops. So, man, I'm telling you, there's a real positive side to that sort of experience if you're open to it. So I latched on to books like Think and Grow Rich and The Power of Positive Thinking and The Magic of Thinking Big. All these books are iconic. You might think, especially you younger millennial types, you might think that they're old and they're archaic, they're vintage, but trust me on this one. Especially Think and Grow Rich, especially The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. Absolutely pure 100% gold. So anyways, goals has always been a part of that sort of mindset, that sort of culture. And in I forget what year, doesn't matter. I was turning 31. I quit drinking and I quit smoking. I changed my life around. Largely in part, I believe, because I was ready for it, but also because I had done the Tony Robbins. Remember the 30-day personal power? 30 days, personal power. You too can own a castle and a helicopter. Anyways, Tony was running these infomercials, pushing them hard. And I eventually caved and I bought one. It was like $400. And for me, $400 at the time, I didn't have $400. My life was a bit of a train wreck. I bought it and I sort of valued that information because I've sort of read success books. 1987, I read, God forbid, Donald Trump's The Art of the Deal, which was an amazing book, by the way. Just to name a few of all, I've always enjoyed business and autobiographies from famous people. But the large bulk of the books that really influenced me the most were the ones that I had read and had access to from my Amway experience 10 years earlier. So latching on to Tony Robbins was not a weird thing for me. It was a good fit. It was a lot of money, though. And, I talk to people, and they kind of think it's bullshit. I don't believe in that stuff. Well, no, you're missing the point. I feel grateful that I was able to, at an early age, and I think in large part because I had a large vacuum inside of my beingness, my soul that was looking to be filled. And that filled the void nicely. I mean, better than, I could have become a criminal. I could have become a drug addict. I could have gone down any road. So thankfully I went down that road, and I'm just a big believer. So if you think it's bullshit, I urge you to at least read the damn books and plant the seeds in you. And at some point in time, you may go from pessimist to optimist. So there's really something to it. When you look at the series of successful people throughout the world, throughout history, they almost exclusively always attribute their success to others, to the readings, to the stories from others, and to their moms. I mean, our moms played a big role too. Your mom's got to believe in you, and your wife. So yeah, when I got Tony Robbins in 1990, it was November, and I was struggling, still drinking and smoking and all that crap. But I told myself, if I'm going to spend this kind of money, I'm going to do the damn program. And in the first 5 minutes of the first cassette, remember cassettes? Tony says, congratulations, and over 95% of the people won't even get this far. It's true. Most people that buy information products don't even crack open the package. So, but I was committed because I was actually in a lot of pain too. So I was really motivated. So, and there was a little booklet that came with it too. Lo and behold, the whole program is really based on goals, plus doing daily. You listen to a cassette per day, Monday to Friday for 4 weeks. So you take the weekend off. You do the work, you write the notes. Some cassettes were shorter than others. I got up an hour early every day and I did the work. One of my goals was I just really wanted to quit drinking and smoking and get healthier. And shortly thereafter, I really did not want to go to a 12-step program because to me that was where losers went, right? That was just like bottom of the... So January 6, 1991, shortly after I got that program, I found myself standing outside a door into a church basement where they were having a 12-step meeting, which was ACOA at the time. Now, if you can imagine, January, up where I live, it gets pretty cold. So it was about minus 25, not a single breeze. You know those pitch black cold nights and you get a couple of snowflakes coming down? Crispy cold. If you're not from up north, you don't know what I'm talking about. But if you are, you know what I'm talking about. So I always remember standing outside that door, and I remember that environment of cold. Just the pitch black January night. Scared shitless. But Tony Robbins kept playing in my head, because Tony has 3 steps. He says, you got you got to decide, right? You got to decide, make a decision. You got to decide what you want. Okay, this is what goal setting is all about. Make a decision. What do you want? Make a decision. I'm going to give you some tools in a minute too, by the way. Just hang with me. Decide what it is you want. Number 2, take action. Some people say, well, I don't got money, or I don't have... No. You could take any action. Sometimes it means going to the library and getting a book out on that particular topic that you're looking to get into. Whatever. Sometimes it just means going to your Google Calendar or your calendar on your fridge or writing a Post-it note out. Those are action steps. Any action's an action. The more actions you can take, the more profound the action. But throwing money at it's not necessarily the best thing. So here I was. I decided, I took action, meaning I got in my car, I drove to the church, and I was at the door. Okay? But the third step was where I was struggling. The third step was, am I committed? Commitment is so important, obviously. So I'm standing on the outside of this door, ruminating, because I wanted to leave. I just wanted to leave. I was like, no, I don't want to be here. I'm way too scared. So I stood there struggling, and in my struggle, I decided, well, I got to do step 3. I'm here. I'm committed. So I opened the door, and I blindly walked in, and my life has never been the same. Unbelievable. Highly recommend it. Anybody who wants to go to any kind of a 12-step meeting is like a mastermind meeting in a sense, but you're really made accountable in a sense. Not that others are on your case about being accountable. It's just that you showing up. It takes it's a lot of courage. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, man. A lot of wonderful things happened to me that first year. Since then, a lot of wonderful things happened, but the big changes were in the first 3-4 years. Unbelievable. So, got married 5 years later, and our business just skyrocketed. I found Dan Kennedy, who became my marketing mentor, started really getting into his books and newsletters and his programs. Now, in the year 2000, I met a buddy at Toastmasters, and I told him one night, we used to go out after each Toastmasters meeting on a Monday night. We'd go for a cup of coffee, or he'd have a beer. We'd go to a local cigar bar, and we'd have a cigar too. I don't do those anymore. But one night I was like, Mark, do you want to get into real estate? I really like real estate. He's like, yeah, let's do it. I said, okay, next Monday, why don't we meet at lunchtime, get into real estate? We'll start like sending out faxes to all the real estate agents. I had a plan. So that week, now the internet was kind of early, but not that early. So I think Google was around, or Yahoo. So I went online and I searched Canadian real estate marketing, blah, blah, blah. And this Raymond Aaron guy showed up, and he used to be one of those big time promoters of workshops on, buying real estate, no money down, all that stuff. And he was segueing his whole shtick into goal setting. He had a goal setting, a mentorship workshop. So I found his website somewhere, and I called, and they said, we'll send you a cassette. They sent me a cassette tape. You remember those? And it was a pitch. It was one of his best ever. It was a live broadcast from a lecture or a sales presentation he had put on somewhere. And they used this recording to get you to sort of consider signing up for this monthly mentorship thing. And it worked for me. I signed up. It was a 17 or 18-month program, $200 a month, and I had to drive 4 hours there and 4 hours back. So I would leave in the afternoon on a Monday, usually the first Monday of every month, and I would be done at 10:30, and I'd come home, get home around 3 in the morning. Good times. Now, I'll just tell you really quickly what his presentation was about. He talked about how this whole program, by the way, is based on goals, which is cool. But he was always like, his whole thing, which really blew me away, was twofold, more or less. One was, there's 3 ways to learn. You learn from yourself, and you can learn from your peers, or you can learn from an expert, a guru, a master. And I'm like, no one's ever told me that before. Because most of us want to learn by ourselves. Oh, I got this. I'm a rugged individualist. I got this, you can't. I did karate for many years, and I could go to a bookstore and get a book on karate. Am I going to learn? It depends. So when I did karate, we had a couple of senseis there, 6th-degree black belts, and we'd learn from there. We'd show up, just do what the damn sensei says, but keep showing up. Same idea. So you learn from yourself, you learn from your peers, you can go to your friends, your family. They're mostly just going to have opinions. They don't know. They don't know karate or whatever you're trying to learn. So you got to go to an expert. So that was his whole shtick. And it really worked. And his whole thing that he was an expert at was goal setting. He developed this entire program based on goal setting every month. It was absolutely, absolutely amazing. And of course, one of my goals was to get into real estate. and a bunch of other ones. I should go back to Tony Robbins when I did all my goals then. They all came true, literally. I wanted a house. I wanted a new Hasselblad system. I needed a new car. I needed a credit card. I needed my credit rating fixed. I needed to get into healthier. Everything just unfolded. It was almost like miraculous the way these events would just kind of roll into my life. Okay? Just wanted to say that because it was really, really, really powerful for me. So anyways, Raymond Aaron, monthly mentorship. I signed up for this. Short story long, I got into real estate, one of the big goals, and I wanted to publish a book, and I wanted to start an online information product, which I did, which was No BS Photo Success, which I started 2 years later. I wanted to get into sailing, which I realized I've always wanted to be a sailor, but then I realized once I bought a sailboat, I didn't want to be a sailor. I wanted what sailing represented, which was freedom. So sometimes you get goals and they're not really what you want, but you think they are, but really what they are what they represent. So you got to kind of be very self-aware of these things. You got to really have a good look at your goals and your intentions. So anyways, the big goal was real estate. We ended up with at least $2.5 million worth of real estate. We sold off about 35% of that. And we kept enough it's all paid for now. It's a beautiful thing. Unbelievable. And it worked. So goals. Now, I did another program in 2004 or 5, a couple of years after finishing that program, called LMI, which was Leadership Management Institute, which was for CEOs and whatnot. Very expensive. It was, I think, an 8-week program or so. And it was like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 or something crazy like that. And the first meeting I had with the coach, first thing he says is, just so you know, our entire program is based on goal setting. I'm mind blown. I figured this was something different because it was for CEOs and what have you. I was wrong. It's all goal setting. Everything's goal setting. So I did that program and all these amazing things happened. It's just been, okay, I can't say enough about goal setting. So I take it very, very serious. Now your goals will change over time. Mine certainly did. Now my goals are more about, like, I'm turning 60 next year. What happened? So my goals are more health related, more lifestyle related. I'm making different choices. I still love business. I got some business interests that I might sort of digress into. I might take my photography business. I can't say more about it right now, but I've got these ideas and goals. But the predominant goals are what I'm eating, the exercise I'm getting, my mind, feeding my mind, and being resilient and strong. Because time wears us down, so, and we get less of it. So that's my basic story to do with goal setting. Just on that note, if you're a member of No BS, you know about, I'll put this in this replay down here. This here, okay? It's a goal setting PDF form that I created, which was really, I really plagiarized a lot of it from Raymond Aaron, but you can't really say that he came up with it because goals are goals and goal setting. But one of the cool, and I plagiarized a little bit from LMI, like, this is pretty standard. 5 years from now, I mean, no one's got a trademark on that. You can almost say that the E-Myth by what's his name, Michael Gerber. He's big on when he goes into a business and he consults with them. He says, "What is your business going to look like 5 years from now?" That's a really, really powerful statement. And then this is really good. This is what the guy from LMI put me through. The top 10 most critical issues. And that was not a part of the LMI process. It was something he told me that he just sort of came up with on his own, and he believed in it so much he added it as part of it. And it was one of the first steps he had done. And when I had done this step, I thought, this is genius, man. This was so powerful, so powerful. And then, so you describe your life in 5 years. You come up with top 10 critical issues, which basically tells you what's in the way and will often give you some good stuff to create goals from, right? You'll find out your roadblocks and messes. So, and then you come up with your love list, which was from the Raymond Aaron workshops. Cleaning shop. This is important. This is another big one that Raymond Aaron taught me. Clean your messes. Never thought of that before. You know, your closet, your keychain, your car, your finances, all that stuff are messes. And, you know, there's a book out by Maria Kondo, the Japanese lady whose whole life is dedicated to the spiritual art of cleaning up. There's something to it, guys. So anyways, take your inventory, look at everything you got and all the skills you have. That's a pretty powerful exercise too. You list all the things that you have going for you. Get your friends to do that. Ask them. Say, what is it you like about me? What talents do you think I have? And you'd be surprised and you'll be reminded of stuff that, wow, I forgot yeah, that's true. One time I won that medal in Boy Scouts. That made me feel real good. Well, you know, I'm talking about stuff that we accomplish in our lives, and we downplay a lot of them. This is all part of the goal setting process. Once you start doing this, if you print out this form and fill it out, you'll see the universe starts to shift and move in your favor, and events will happen. You got to be open to it, man. You have to be open. If you're trying to call bullshit on it, you're just living in a very dark place. Okay, you can't do that. You got to be open, and you got to just kind of let it happen, but you got to show up and you got to do the work. All right. That's my whole spiel on goals. And, you know, I brought that up because it's December 31st right now. And it's a time of year I always do my goals, and everybody does goals, and most people don't achieve their goals because they don't dig deep enough into their goals. So they have weak goals. Their goals are not, there's really nothing there for them to grab onto. So I urge you to do the work. You know, we live in a good time. Life is good. We got a lot going for us, and a lot of people are entitled and spoiled, and we're just damn lazy. When you think about it, I was reading a book this year called Sapiens, and he was talking about only 70 or 80,000 years ago, Homo sapiens were middle of the food chain. You know, we were not the apex like lions and tigers were, and tiger sharks and great white sharks were. You know, these animals are majestic. They're just brimming with confidence. They kick ass. You know, they don't cower into the corner. You know, they have the survival mechanisms and the needs and the tools with which to remain at the top. So we were in the middle. We were chased just as often as we were being chased, and or chasing, or trying to find food, until we discovered fire and tools, which was apparently about 70,000 years ago. And we shot to the top of the food chain. But our mental state, our emotional state is still in the middle. So we have a very neurotic tendency. We're full of fear. That's why we're fearful. As humans, we are scared. And it's very much a large part of who we are. So you realize that, it kind of makes a lot of sense. I've always been a very curious person, and that's why that kind of stuff really intrigues me. So, let's talk photography. I got a list here. Weddings. I don't do as many weddings as I used to. I sometimes wonder if I'm just getting too old and the brides don't like me anymore. That was always a fear of mine. That happened when I was 50, but nothing changed. I was still booking 20 to 30 weddings a year. The last couple of years, they've gone down dramatically. My feeling is that there just are not that many weddings as there used to be. I'm not interested in going after the big international or the, you know, there are photographers in my area that go down to the big cities and they shoot the big pageantry events and they market to that, and that's cool. I don't like traveling for work. I just not into it. I like to travel to Costa Rica for pleasure and that. But for weddings, my attitude is that if I shoot a couple a year, I'm happy. You know, I don't need to shoot 20, 30, 40 weddings like the old days. So I'm okay with that. All the power. And I think weddings are on a decline. You just look at the social trends nowadays. They're really, really not as many people. Millennials don't seem to want to get married the way they used to. And when they do, they have smaller weddings, backyard weddings. So which to me, it's like, all right, I gotta do stuff, maybe fill the vacuum in with other stuff. And this is a natural fit for me. It's called the ice fairies. There's my wife. We just created this hoop, bought that backdrop, which is 10 by 20. It's a vinyl backdrop. I bought it on eBay. And that hoop, we bought props and stuff. You know, at Christmas time, you buy this stuff, you get it on sale at Michael's and what have you. This in the background is not going to be there. We got the penguins, we got the hoop. We're going to add more flowers to the rope. And that's going to be our main Ice Fairies backdrop. Now, this is a perfect segue for us since we do a lot of fairies. So, also, another segue is the medieval portraits. I'm going to show you that in a minute. So, families. I love shooting families. We've been doing a lot of families this year. Both families that come to us automatically and families that we push through promotions and what have you. So, marketing plays a big role in that one. So, there's a family I just shot. Check this out. So the boys are like, yeah, we want to do what do you call that? Photobomb. I'm like, and the parents were so cool. When I'm posing a family like this, I just literally let it fall into place. So the mom's right arm is awkward. Whatever. I'm not gonna stop and start posing because I like the way this looks. So I'm just shooting very spontaneously. You know, there's triangulation. Good pose, very natural. Good smiles. Boys don't laugh. I mean, these boys were really hyper. But I did let them do photobomb. And I had a big, you know, I have a thing of jujubes I bribed them with. I'm like, if you guys are good, you get some treats. There's the whole gang. So one family with 4 boys, another family with 4 boys, and there's this family here with 1 girl. There was a lot of energy. This boy here would not lose a soother. He had a soother in his mouth. Look at him. So this was tough, man. And we decided to do a fun shot. So I set it up. I said, guys, you want to flip your kids upside down. See the little baby there? He's got his thumb in his mouth the whole time. See, we pulled it out. This was a lot of work, man. But I love shooting families. To me, families are one of the most valuable subjects on the planet. Fairy Day, we still do a lot of those. I know if you remember my forum, you know that. I talk about these all the time. And I got the whole fairy system in there. Let me show you something else. Oh yeah, this hoop was inspired by, you know, the floral hoops. And we bought it at the hardware store. It's a log holder thingy. You know, and I talked about that in greater detail in the mastermind meeting we had last month. I did this for fun. I had this girl come in and I saw some pictures. I don't have them. Anyways, I bought these mermaid tail. It's a PNG file series that I bought, I think on Etsy. And just tried those. This was more experimental than anything. I don't think the mermaid's going to go anywhere. Let me show you. Hold on. Wedding, glam, fun. Hold on. I want to show you guys this here. You know, it's going to be the last one. There it is. We started doing the medieval. See the medieval portraits? We got the background. We got the wall. And so that's sort of a spin off the fairies. The whole coming up with these creative offers, these creative sets, mostly tied into kids, is sort of where we're filling in the vacuum. And it's kind of working out. So I just wanted to mention that. This, I just wanted to show you this. So this is an engagement session I did last week. And we don't do online galleries, except for very few sessions. Like we will do it for an engagement session, maybe some commercial gigs, and executive portraits, where it's very cut and dry. The engagement session, they're already booking a $3,000 wedding package. The wedding session, the engagement session is included. We'll do a web gallery. And one of the reasons that I don't like doing web galleries is because you're going to make no sales virtually. However, for engagement, they seem to buy more. And I think the large reason for that is because we have a good rapport. Their anticipation level is up. We've talked and met with them many, many times. They've already committed to this large amount of money. They've given us a substantial deposit. So we've exchanged money already. But this is one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of web galleries. So I take a few of the images and I put them in black and white, or I'll work them up really quick to show different effects. So I always take a shot of the guy and the girl alone, and this is the shot of the guy. And hold on, before I go any further, I'm going to talk to you about the lighting on that. All right, I don't have it. This is high-speed sync with the Sony, the Sony. Yeah. Thought I had it here. I have the Sony high-speed sync set up and with small softbox. It's an amazing system. You know, I shoot up to 2,000 of a second. Love it. But whenever I shoot the guy and the girl alone, I try and make the girl look cute and feminine and glamoury. And I try and use the harder shadows for the guy. And this was outside, so there was a lot of snow. I wanted to get a darker background. I couldn't, so that tree was only doing half the job. However, this was one of the ones I made in black and white in the gallery. And so they ordered it. They ordered an extra whatever they ordered. And then she said, well, no, it's not black and white. I sent her the color one. And I'm like, oh, shit, okay. Lost in translation. So I had to redo it from here to here to here. So they saw black and white in the gallery, assuming that it was only available in black and white. Sent them color, so I had no big deal. It's just that's one of the minor issues with web galleries. So I got to show you something before I continue. Hold on. This is cool. Got this from Fuzzy Dunkel. It's called a round flash. See that? And it's designed to work TTL with your flash. It's got these little mini poles that bend in half like a tent pole. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? Bing! See, they bend? So it collapses. Very, very, very cool. But then it straightens up and it locks into place so that the whole thing is sort of thick like that. See? There's a hole in the middle. Boom! And there's like spongy cord that your lens goes through. So you shoot this way. Okay? Camera goes here. Let me use this beat up old Nikon D800. See, I got this flash. And the flash goes right there. See? You have a ring flash, portable. So I could use this on location, high-speed flash if I need it, or in the studio. It was like $80 from B&H, called a round flash. I like a ring flash for certain opportunities. All right, so yeah, I mentioned I wrote down boudoir. I always thought I'd do a pretty decent job shooting boudoir, but I haven't really pursued it in a big way. It's on my list, and I really want to be able to do a good job at it. I think I would do, well, I've done a bunch already, and I'm still sort of honing my style, my look. I like the whole idea of calling it a radiant session, where there's a tinge of sexiness to it, femininity, and painterliness, if there's such a way to describe it. But I'm still working on that, so. Business is good. It's been a challenging year in other areas. Too much to get into at this point in time, but I will talk someday about them. And, it just, Dan Kennedy used to talk about this all the time, and he would talk about how in business the show must go on. And I was talking to a photographer, a guy who used to be a photographer. He's now working, he's got a real job. And he was talking about this last month when we went out, him and his wife, and my wife and I went out for supper. And he was talking about how when he was in business, how he always had a monkey on his back. And I was like, I've never heard anybody describe it that way. But both my wife and I was like, yeah, we know exactly what you're talking about. When you are in business for yourself, it's like you're always on the hunt to keep the business going, for new business, and just and it's true. It's just a reality. Now, back in, older days, so to speak, it was easier to get business. It's much tougher to be in business now, I believe, for some. And if it's not, you probably got a lot of stuff working for you, and hopefully you're aware of those things so you can maintain them. If you're not aware of them, the worst thing to do is to take it for granted that success will be yours and always there. It's very, very savvy to be very much, again, Dan Kennedy used to quote Norman Vincent Peale, or was it Napoleon Hill? Accurate thinking, they called it. That's one of the tenets of one of the foundations, the success foundations. Accurate thinking. Be very much a realist as to what it is that's working for you. Because when it goes away, if it goes away, you don't want to be startled and stuck and go, what the hell happened? You want to always plan and have a backup plan and be well prepared. I watch a lot of webinars, and I do a lot of webinars every month through my coaching program at photosuccess.com. And to me, I look at that as a huge benefit because I get access. Like, I just had one with Joel Grimes and with Christy Elias, who's doing an amazing job down in Long Beach, California. And I do multiple meetings every month. And it just keeps me honed, and it really helps me. I have this real drive to want to do that. So it's something that really works for me, and it works to my advantage. I remember when I was 16 years old, I was a badass. Okay. I was very much a delinquent and troubled teen in many, many ways. But I had this part of me that had a sort of urging and a drive to want to be a leader. I had leadership callings, so to speak. And I was very active in the local church youth group, running dances and fundraisers. Also in the local playground, I was the teen representative. So it was kind of a bit of a paradox, a bit of an irony that, what's that Provencher kid doing? But something I really related to. So, that sort of activity fits me quite fine. So as a benefit, I have access to a lot of these big-time photographers, and I attend because I host a lot of these webinars. So it really helps me a lot. But I got to tell you something, though. YouTube is taken over, all right? YouTube, I think, it's huge, but it's not even hit the top of its game yet. So I went on YouTube a while back, a year ago. I started collecting Photoshop tutorials. And I have this sort of a private playlist. It's just for me in my YouTube account, where I save YouTube videos on Photoshop tutorials. It's like you really don't need to buy much anymore. Unless you want to get into a photographer's very specific workflow strategy, especially if there's a marketing angle to it. But mostly, just about everything's available on YouTube. So I watch those quite a bit as well. But the one that really I enjoy the most is Jordan Peterson. He's not a photographer. He's a University of Toronto professor. I'll put the link in the replay down below. And it's his first ever webcast, podcast with Joe Rogan about a year ago. Check it out. It's almost 3 hours long, but it doesn't matter. This guy has got more views than anybody else. Millions and millions of views and followers. Just listen to what he has to say. So that's one guy who I find him very fascinating. So I listen to just about everything he puts out. And I mostly listen while I'm workflowing. So the desk I'm sitting at right now is the same desk that I do all my workflow on. So I kind of enjoy doing the workflow. Now, if we were as busy as we used to be in the old days, I couldn't do it because I was just shooting all day, every day. And we had a full-time employee. So, and frankly, I don't want to go back to those days. I like where we're at. So the big thing is, remember I mentioned my goals, is I'm happy doing the level I'm doing. I have business ambitions outside of photography, but in photography, probably never going to give that up. And I'm doing enough to maintain I have financial goals, and the actual workflow and the actual photographic output is enough to keep me happy doing what I'm doing. So these are all pretty important factors. So you got to ask yourself these questions. So, and that's where I'm at with that. So while I'm doing my workflow, which I'm doing a lot more than I used to because we used to have an employee, I listen to guys like Jordan Peterson. So I find it so insightful and inspiring. And of course, there's Gary Vaynerchuk and guys like that when it comes to marketing, and Dan Kennedy. But I just want to mention Jordan Peterson because that's sort of what's new to me and what I enjoy a great deal. So I will post that. So anyways, that's the podcast for December 2017. Happy New Year for 2018. I hope I've given you something to chew on. And if you have any questions, send me an email, rob@wizardoflight.com. Do consider joining the forum. There's a lot of content inside there, as well as coaching, Photoshop actions, textures, mastermind meetings, replays, and a whole crap load of webinar replays from some of the best names in the industry. Hell, we're just getting warmed up. Okay. I'm out of here, guys. We'll see you next year. Thanks.